Okay, hi everybody. We are back. Erica X Dale, the Abundance Activator, here with my love, Lisa Huck, founder of Thrive FNL. And like always, we're just getting together to share our incredible wisdom and amazing experiences and just trying to spread the love and all of the tools and techniques and hacks that we have to make your life better and easier so you can be more clear on your ascension trajectory and more potent in your life and get a hell of a lot more of what you want at a faster pace, because why not? We are quantum leapers and we can. So we're doing it a little differently today because we have so many topics that we want to talk about constantly. And Lisa and I are like, what are we going to talk about today? And we just got on and we're talking about other things. And she has no idea because I'm like, I'll pick it today. So we'll see how this goes. We're both responders. But I think that we should talk about one very obvious and seemingly so simple hack to really shifting all aspects of your life when it comes to chemistry, how your body is responding to the internal and external world, and how you can easily get more in that space of consciously creating reality. And when I say it, it's very obvious, but there are some things that we want to add to that. And that is, it all has to do with your attitude.
Oh, I like it.
So you had written a lot of notes on this because we both come up with, things that fuel our generator-ness and things that we want to share upon. So the topic of attitude. Take it away, my love.
Okay. I was on a rant one day and writing a bunch of notes. And I think what's sparking, like going back to the notes, I'm thinking about something that Joe Dispenza said. And he said that a person's personality is a person's reality, creates a person's reality. And then I was,
creates a person's.
Isn't that brilliant? It's so true. And that's your attitude, basically. Your personality is your attitude towards life. And there's so many places you can go with that. Like your attitude towards life is based on your experiences. It's based on your conditioning from the people around you, your parents, what you've seen, what you've heard about, what you've witnessed. I think your personality is based on your chemistry. So your personality is it's a culmination of all those facets. And I think where I want to go with that is probably just the chemistry piece, because I think that what I see with people is they don't realize how much your chemistry, when I say your chemistry, what I'm talking about is your body has a balance of brain chemicals, neurotransmitters. So you've got dopamine and serotonin and all these other brain chemicals. And your body has a certain happy signature or balance. And when it is there, when it's at the happy balance, you're happy. You're not feeling stressed. You're not feeling anxious. You're not feeling paranoid. You're not feeling irritable. You're feeling creative. You're feeling calm. And you're feeling confident and sure about your world and the direction. And when your chemistry is out of balance, depending on how out of balance and what's out of balance, you could feel, and I'm going to call these symptoms because these are symptoms, but people actually don't realize that these are symptoms, is that you can feel perseverating. You can get OCD kind of symptoms. Like one of my symptoms, when I know that my chemistry is a little bit out of balance, I start twirling my hair. And it's an unconscious habit. And I twirl my hair. I've done it since I was a kid. It went along with the same habit of chewing my teeth, chewing my nails. And I remember my mom putting like just disgusting tasting stuff on my fingers so I wouldn't chew my nails. And I tried. I did all these different things to distract myself from chewing my nails and twirling my hair, because I would twirl so much when I would get really revved up that I would rip it off. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. It's totally unconscious. And then what happened is, the way I learned about this is that I found myself one day, I realized I wasn't doing any of that. And that's how this happens. Our discovery happens sometimes, is that we discover ourselves not doing the thing. And then we realize, oh my God, I'm not doing that thing that I was doing, that I was working so hard not to do. But you can't will it not to happen. So a doctor that I went to see years ago, Dr. Schwartzbein, she's an endocrinologist, talking about chemistry. It's all about chemistry with an endocrinologist. She said, no amount of willpower can overcome your chemistry. So that's when I really learned that it's not about your discipline and your will. It's about your chemistry. She also said that one of the biggest gifts that you could give your children is feeding them healthy and helping their chemistry. Because like we just said, your personality, it shoots off into so many different places. Your personality is that person's reality. If your chemistry is off and you're irritable, you're perseverating, you're ruminating on a piece of what happened today, a negative piece. If you're feeling shy or lacking confidence, if you're feeling stressed, if you're not sleeping, if you bite back quickly, if you have a hard time shifting and rolling with life, you know, not being able to shift on demand because the life has brought you a different thing. All these things are actually chemistry and they can be adjusted. So the cool thing is when it's chemistry, I love it when it's chemistry because chemistry is manipulatable. We can change chemistry and often pretty quickly. I think it's actually probably one of the quickest variables of that whole thing that I just said that can be changed. So one thing that I found for me, I'll just talk to the twirling habit, is one of the practitioners I worked with a long time ago, Lisa Sasloff. She was the one that started to teach me about the methylation cycle. And I'm gonna volley this back to you in a second. But the methylation cycle, and do you guys remember in high school chemistry, the Krebs cycle and the production of energy, the production of ATP? You have to go through the Krebs cycle. The body goes through the Krebs cycle to produce an ATP, a unit of energy. And I remember learning about that. I even went into college biochemistry learning about it, but I didn't get it at this level. Now I understand it somewhat, not the details of it, but the spirit of it is that if that cycle is not going properly and all the things that feed that cycle, if they're not rolling and going smoothly, if something's backing them up because they're lacking the raw materials for that recipe, then you end up with chemistry that's out of balance. So I learned that if my part of my methylation cycle is either I'm over methylated or under methylated, I'm not going to go into methylation. Maybe you want to, Erica, or maybe not. It could be a topic for another time, but it's really interesting actually to show people that chart because then they'll get a sense of it. I really like to plant seeds, even if a person doesn't understand it right away, by keep repeating it and showing them it over and over again, then they start to see the picture. And I think it's a very valuable thing for everybody to start to learn this. But I learned that when I was over methylated, I do the twirling thing and I get irritated. I feel stressed. I don't even know why I'm feeling stressed. I feel sort of dark in my mood. I feel like life isn't like, there's not good things coming to me. And then if I'm under methylated, I get the same kind of thing, but I'm not as dark, but I do start twirling. So I've learned to find little nuances like, okay, when I'm doing these things, I need this. And for my methylation, I take something called betaine hydrochloride. And the betaine part of it is what apparently gives me the carbon H3, the CH3, which is a methyl group. And then that gives me what I need. But if I have too much of it, then I stop taking that. And you start to learn your flow until what happens is you're not getting symptoms. And then you start arriving in a life where you realize all these different things I was doing, even thinking and feeling, were fucking symptoms. Excuse me, I wasn't supposed to say fucking. I say fucking, by the way, I want to address that real quick. I was really embarrassed. I told Erica that I don't want to publish on my channel when I cuss because I don't want
like,
my
what the fuck is wrong with you?
to see me cussing. Well, motherfucker, I cuss. And let me just explain my cussing. My cussing is when I get excited. It's not a cussing of like being mean to people or calling people a bad name. It's when I get excitable. It's emphasis. So when you hear me say the F word, it's because it's like I'm popping off. I'm excited. So
That's very obvious, my darling.
Okay, good.
Everybody in the
I don't
world,
want to,
even people who are like, they would never cuss because they don't care for it, can see the pureness by which that escapes your mouth.
Thank you, babe. So I'm apologizing in advance if anybody gets offended. I don't mean any offense at all. I'm just excited about these things. So anyhow, you realize that whoa, I am sliding into a life that I'm not experiencing these symptoms. So what is actually life without all these symptoms? What it is, like, I'll give you a picture of what I think it is. It's like waking up and thinking, oh my God, I get to go to work today and I love what I do and I love where I live. Like, how do I get to live in this beautiful environment? How do I get to work with these kind of people? The details for your life are going to be different, but it's like a feeling of peace, a feeling of ease, a feeling of good things are flowing to me, a feeling that things work out even if I hit a hump. And I will tell you that when your chemistry is at that happy place, you're also not craving sugar. You don't have a food drive. There's a lot of other things. So I want to volley it back to you because I'm I'm speaking a lot.
You're over methylated. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's so good. See, and this is why I kind of love being spontaneous like this, because we have no idea where this is going to go. And we can both talk on it till days and till we're blue in the gills, because there's so much that we want to share. So in you volleying it back to me, I want to take it and spin it in a couple different directions, because you said so many things. I want to talk about methylation. I want to talk about willpower. Obviously, we're talking about chemistry, but I want to bring in the other parts, because everything Lisa and I do, it's the culmination of addressing all the different parts of us as human beings. So the quote I want to start with, like what she said with from
Spencer?
thank you. This one, this might be from him too. I think it was from somebody else, but it's something along the lines that your attitude denotes how your subconsciousness is using your conscious mind, aka how it's utilizing your life force energy, your power. So on my realm, it's, yes, it has so much to do about chemistry. If your chemistry's off, no amount of willpower is going to change that long term. But on the flip, if your subconscious is in control of your realm, because you're not addressing that, chemistry, balancing out your chemistry can help, but it's not going to have the same velocity of shift as if you do both. And one can be both of them can be the precursor to the other. So from my perspective with the whole subconscious thing is like, especially, I guess a lot of it depends on where a person is at, but I like to try to give the most simple hacks to get people started with what you can do in this minute to set yourself on a trajectory to be in the driver's seat of your reality and what you're attracting. So Lisa and I have been doing this and on this path for so long that we can talk about methylation. It's like, it's simple and it's exciting. We're going to try this thing. We've got this massive baseline of knowledge. Whereas I just spoke with a doctor today and she was just like deer in headlights. And it's not because she doesn't have the brain, the mental alacrity to be able to handle these things, but this isn't what she talks about every single day. So that gave me information as I was guiding and directing her and working with her. It's like, that might not even be the first step for her, even though she's all about chemistry and that modality. It was like, let's switch it over here and let's talk more about what she can handle right now that's not overwhelming. So what Lisa and I want to keep doing is breaking it down and planting seeds for people. So from my perspective, one of the things, well, it depends on somebody's unique design code, for one, how much willpower they actually have in and of themselves. Lisa and I have we don't have our own will center, which means that we'll have the willpower to follow through on something when we're linked into somebody else. But when we're alone, if it's not perfectly in sync with us, we actually, our will evade us a little bit. And then if we try to push beyond that, we're utilizing our life force energy and it's bleeding out essentially. And that's something that we can talk about some other time, but
That's human design. So what you're referring to is human design.
Okay. Yep. And so there's a very interesting thing when we actually get into willpower. But with methylation and chemistry aside, one of the hacks that I like to teach people when you're actually addressing your attitude is that if your subconscious, which is 90% of your reality, and it's a vibratory thing that's happening as you emit, that engages the law of attraction. That's how you create your reality. Well, if you're creating your reality from your subconscious pattern and you're not aware or on top of what your subconscious pattern is attracting into your realm, you know, if you're repeating patterns and you're not, well, let me give you an example. Let's say you get your chemistry in alignment. but you constantly still have an attitude that is dire or woe is me, or you're still basing your experiences in the past and expecting what you've already had, that trajectory to shift your reality at the quantum level that we're capable of is so slowed, it's almost negligible. The result is almost negligible. So one of the hacks I like to do is, yes, we have this entire life that we're in right now with observing what's going on, what reality is giving us, what we believe is true based on what we're seeing in front of us. But what I want to encourage people to do is to get ahead of that and to actually get to get in front of the wave per se and reverse engineer it. So with something as simple as attitude, one of my hacks is to set people up with a template. I love doing templates to retrain yourself with something so simple that you start to engage a different mechanism within you that creates a different vantage point. And from that vantage point, you can attract everything you need to do the deeper things, like balance the chemistry, start healing the subconscious programs, because you're taking a different pathway. So for instance, when I'm working with somebody, whatever, that's new to the whole subconscious realm or whatever, it's like, hey, your attitude does create your reality. What was the quote that you said from the beginning?
It's a person's personality is
Okay.
their person's reality.
Correct. But that's also based on a person being, like you said, conditioned, how they've been brought up, what they're used to, what their external environment stipulates, and that's all out of their control. And what I want to encourage people to do is bounce ahead of that. Get into the space of where it's all your control. What that quote tells me is that your reality also stipulates your personality.
Yeah.
And I want people to see that, well, wait a minute. What if you have more potential than what your personality stipulates? What if you have much more control than what you've just always been? There are parts of my personality in the past where I'm like, once I became aware, I'm like, I don't actually like that. I've always been like that. Maybe it's in my design code. I don't want that anymore. Get ahead of it. So what if instead of your personality, your attitude is what creates your personality? Is that your attitude? What am I saying? Your personality creates your attitude creates your personality.
Well, it's your attitude creates your personality, which creates your reality.
Creates your reality, right? Change your attitude and change your reality, which is essentially what he's saying. I'm just putting a spin on it.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you have a frustrated energy that's automatically, something comes to you and you're immediately, I see this in Liam a lot, my son. He's immediately frustrated if he doesn't know anything. And I know that he's young, but adults do this too. That is a habit. That is part of his personality. That does not bode well and doesn't get him anywhere. So what I'm teaching him is stop that. What if you create a template where it's like every time you get frustrated, the automatic thing is just implementing, wait a minute, I can do this. Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, I'm feeling frustration, but I can totally do this. When you switch that, the entire body's chemistry actually lines up to support it. And you have totally shifted your vibration. And what's that vibration going to do? Attract everything you need to help you figure out how to do it. It's so easy. You miss it.
Yeah.
And I notice myself when I interact with other people and I have that reflection, that contrast, I notice the things that I'm doing that get the results because it's so habitual now. I'm almost like, what is happening? I don't know what I'm doing that's getting this result. The first thing is, and it was brought up by my beloved yesterday, he's like, your attitude is insane. You have an attitude where you're constantly like, oh, I'll get it. Oh, I know how to do it. Do I ever know what I'm doing? Rarely. But the habit is, oh, I've got this. I'll totally figure it out. Oh, I can totally do it. Everything. I can't even remember a situation that ever came across my path where I didn't absolutely land an ideal answer, solution, somebody to come in and do it for me, somebody that just drops some money in my lap to get something, because I've literally commanded reality with my attitude that creates then vibration that then creates chemistry in the body to get on board. So it's a little bit of a flip, but the things work together because I still agree that, back in the day before my chemistry was aligned, was I using a lot of willpower and it wasn't sustainable long term. Yeah, I was creating completely different results in my life. My massive shit was shifting, but then it was time for the next level. to look at methylation, to look at my chemistry. But guess what? That attitude is what created the reality to bring me the answer so that I could figure out this complicated shit with ease. So my vantage point is that hack it. Create a template that you will automatically start implementing around small little things that will fast track you to receive everything you need to take it to the next level. Change your attitude.
Yeah.
Anytime you're like, I can't, change it to, oh, fuck yeah, I can, even if you don't know. Anytime you say, I don't know, say, I can figure this out.
That's
Anytime
great.
you're frustrated, make it a habit to be like, oh, this is interesting. I don't even know what we would do with that one. Like, I could have been frustrated, but I'm actually choosing to really be calm, or, just create a few things around stuff that you keep seeing cropping up in your life again and again and again, and create a template that you choose to automatically implement.
Yeah.
That's a quantum hack, in my opinion.
I love that. And I think what's amazing about just that idea of you saying how you always say that I can do that is that it is a habit. Like
Totally.
you say it before you think.
Correct.
Often it's just literally a reflexive habit.
Yep.
But what happens is the energy signature of that,
Yep.
it opens up the ethers. Like
God's like, okay, sure. Here you go. You got it.
Right.
Here's what you need.
Yep. And so that is very interesting. That's a great example. And then all the resources you need to actually accomplish what you just said you can do, even if you don't know how to do it, they come to you.
Exactly.
And you sit back and you're in receiving.
Correct.
And that's incredible. That is a great example. Wow.
And it's an underwhelming approach. Because again, I'm in a space where I can so easily see people around me getting overwhelmed by all the things that need to happen in order to create a different result. I can be very overwhelming to people. Ask my boyfriend. But what can we do that's underwhelming, that's so freaking fast, and it takes such a little amount of anything? Like, I trained myself, when I get hurt, the immediate responses I have is like, oh, I'm so glad it wasn't worse. I stub my toe and I'm like, thank you so much, it's still attached. It's just automatic. But it
awesome.
literally changes the chemistry. The pain goes away so fast.
Okay, so there's a bunch of places I would want to go here. But let's encourage people who are watching to think about one thing that they can pluck out of their life that they notice they say to themselves a lot. I can tell you one thing that I used to say a lot, and when I realized that marquee was going by all the time in my brain, I couldn't believe I was saying it. And it was, I have no choice, which is a subject for another day, but I have no choice. And so instead of just saying I have no choice, which means I'm a victim and I'm powerless, I could even just say, what choices do I have? I could just flip it that way, just turn it into a question. And the question opens up the energy. And then if I hear myself, another step from there is that if I notice that that's catching me, that old pattern, I don't say it anymore, this is old, but if I were to hear it come through my head or see it come through my head, I could say, I could literally fake it till I make it and just say, when I hear I have no choice, I could say, I have so many choices, and fake it till I make it, because that energy is so different.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, my ticker, and this will resonate with a lot of people too, is I don't have enough time. I can't do it all. And it still rolls in my head, even though I walk my talk. It's the same thing. And it's like, oh, that is such a victim-y thing. And that creates the same cycle. I don't have enough time and overwhelming it. It's like, stop it. That creates so much fuel to give you exactly the thing that you're feeling frustrated about. So the habit is, just like you said, to notice the awareness and the desire to get out of it. And it's a simple turnaround. Oh, what's the best use of my time right now? And just when you shift that inside of you, you'll notice the whole body shifts. It goes from victim, frustrated mood and feeling to just like, oh, and in an instant, it's so freaking fast what happens. And it feels really cool to have those instantaneous moments of realizing how much control you have over your entire reality. And it gets a kind of addictive. You're like, this sucks. What am I going to do with this? Ooh, that was fun, you know?
We were just talking about that last night or this morning, like getting to the place of practicing this over and over again, falling on your face, taking yourself up, scraping off the road rash, and continuing to practice it. Like, oh my God, for the first time, I actually feel like I am actually directing my life. And you know, there's all these iterations of that. There's all these shades of what that could mean, but it's meaning more and more. It's what I mean is that it's more and more true. That statement is more and more true as we go, that I actually do get to dictate my life. Never before, 15 years ago, I didn't think that that was possible. I want to bring up another example. We were going through a situation last night that was super stressful to one of my loved ones. And I said to the person, what it did is it brought this person right back into post-traumatic stress and really stressful situation. And it was painful to watch the person go through that. And I'm scrambling in my mind to find what I can say to relieve the pressure. And I said, what blessings can you see will come from this? Because we know when we look at the pattern of our lives that it always keeps getting better. And each of these things that seem difficult and perhaps negatives, they bear fruit, they bear miracles, they bear beautiful blessings if you look for that. So I said, what blessings can you see, or can it come from this? I didn't say what blessings can you see can come from this. I said, what blessings can you see are going to come from this? Because I know, with a capital K, I know blessings will come. And so at first the person was like, couldn't get there. And then I saw their face lighten and change and start to smile and because what that is going back into history, looking at the pattern and remembering that it does always get better. Blessings always do come. So then the person said, well, what blessings? And they needed my lead. They needed me as a crutch for a moment. So I got to ramble on the blessings that what I did first is I just sat for a moment and I felt, and I allowed God, I allowed the universe, whatever you call your higher power, I allowed that kind of information to come to me. And I sat back for a moment before I said something, and I saw easily the blessings that are going to come from this. And so that's another shift, because we're all faced with things often that could be take your legs out from underneath you. And so that's just another idea.
Yeah. It's so awesome. It abounds. And I know that every single person watching this can feel a time in their life where they're like, oh yeah, it's almost like we're just here to remind you what you already know and to simplify it. And, you know, like it's a small little hack that gets you back in the driver's seat of crafting what you actually want, not inadvertently creating more of the thing you're looking to try to get out of, avoid, or change. It's the flip. And it's so much in our capacity. It's silly, but we have lifetimes of learning how to do it the opposite way. So essentially, stop paying attention to what is, because that's just old. It's been created from an old vibration, and utilize it as an opportunity to remind yourself a template that you've created. Oh yeah, here's the thing that those girls were talking about. Like, oh my gosh, this is the time. This thing sucks. Here it is again. What would I do differently? Or how could I say it differently? Or how can I just change an attitude? It's all happening inside your mind. Flip it and then see instant results. It's really almost about requires willpower a little bit in the beginning, but it's like, how fast do you want to get different results? How fast do you want to feel good? How fast do you want to change your reality? It's just, everybody loves speed. So get on it, fucker. You know,
it's just practice. It's practice. So the thing I'm thinking as you're saying that is that I just think everybody should be getting your coaching, because part of why I get to do this now is because you have coached me and you have been my partner, and we keep each other straight. Like if I'm veering off the path, you bump me back on, you give me a different perspective, you reflect back to me. And so that's just another message, is that we need support. We all need support.
Bingo. Like, and vice versa. So one of the reasons that my most important way for my fast acceleration is for me to teach what I want to implement for myself, to teach what I am implementing, to teach what I believe, even before it's necessarily taking action. So like she said, partnership is critical. So if you don't have a coach, or you're not hiring us, or you don't know what to do, start implementing things here and there, and make it an intention to have somebody to just keep you on point, to just communicate your message to, even if it's like these weird girls that one's saying the F-bomb every 2 seconds, the other one's not wanting to, but she kind of scoots it in there. They were like, oh, it's just a new message. Because essentially it's all about vibration. It's like, just communicate it to somebody. Hey, I'm choosing to change my attitude around this thing. And I know it doesn't seem like me, but usually I'd complain about this. My boss is being a jackhole, but actually, you know what? I'm going to change this. I'm actually grateful, and maybe I can make some shifts, and maybe it's something inside of me that's attracting it. So what can I do a little differently today? Maybe I'm going to go to my boss and say, hey, you know what? I know you're having a really hard time. You're doing the best you can. I want you to know I appreciate you. Is there anything I can do to actually support you? Something like,
Can you
just
imagine?
that
Can you
is
imagine
called like being a
the
superhuman, superhero. But it's the internalness desiring to create a different result. If you just did something like that, where you keep having an experience and you decide to change your attitude, and if you communicate it to somebody, because everybody's going to be expecting you to act the way you've always acted, right? But if you say, I'm going to change my attitude on this, everybody else will get on board with that too. It's like the upward bound spiral where everything keeps compounding on itself from one tiny deviation from what you've always done. And you educate people through your energy. You're giving other people permission, and you become like a moth to a flame. Like, it's an attractive, vibratory quality. Like, I walked into an office, the doctor's office today, and people were talking at me, and I've never spoken to them. And they're like, there's something about you and something's going on and this and that. And I'm like, are you talking to me? Like, we haven't spoken. What are you saying? It's like, oh, I can feel you. It's an attitude, and it exudes, and it therefore attracts and creates. And it can be so simple. Number one, awareness. Like Lisa said, where are you discovering, if you're listening to your thoughts, that you're saying the same thing over and over? It's like the ticker at the bottom of the TV screen on the stock market, or whatever that is. It's like, it's just going automatically. I don't have a choice. I've got to do the thing. I don't have a choice. Or for me, I'm like, I don't have the time. Just got to go. It's like, whoa, change that. Create a template. Oh, when I discover that happening, I'm going to do this instead. Magic, people. So simple. And again, we can get into the chemistry of it, which we are on fire about. We love that because it's such a huge component of the spiritual mind body capacity and our ability to be powerful and potent in life. It's so important. But for some, it's too big to approach right off the bat. And I really feel that we can hack that by doing this simple thing first, because it will lead you down your divine ideal path to what's next for you at the level that you're at, with what is most useful for you, with the people that you need, with the money you need to support, with the scenarios, the time for you, so it's like, get ahead of the curve. It's not everything outside of you that's creating it. It's the internal steps first that then provide everything in your wake that you need. You know what I mean?
Totally. I love it. And I mean, there's so many things I want to say there, but that goes back to the conditioning. Like, you're reconditioning yourself, repatterning yourself, rehabiting,
Yep.
making a new habit for yourself to do something else. And it could even be as simple as, whatever you're saying, what is a statement that says the opposite?
Totally. It's
right.
Always the opposite. When you discover a trait or habit you don't like, it's literally just the opposite.
And really even just stopping and pondering for a moment, what is the opposite of that? What would that feel like? What would that look like? What would my life look like? What would I be doing? So when you stop and think, it produces a ramble. A ramble is a thought that just continues on itself, by itself, because you start thinking. And that becomes a muscle in itself. That becomes a habit in itself. You ramble on this and it happens. And then you can ramble on other things and that becomes a habit. And that's a really neat way to jump you out of an attitude.
Totally.
So I wanted to say some other quick things just to give some other chemical, like I'm so grateful for SVH because SVH, that's the energy modality that Erica teaches and that I practice. And I'm so grateful for it because it really does help you pull the roots out of old beliefs. And our beliefs become our thoughts. And then our thoughts become our attitudes and our attitudes become our personality kind of thing. So the thing is that without that discipline and grinding and gripping and white knuckling it, there are tools out there that literally just change the screen. Like if you have a picture that's beautifully painted and it has, I don't know, brown flowers and you like blue flowers, could you just go in and change those flowers? Like SVH just does that. And it seems like magic because it works that easily. But I just think SVH is amazing. Like I think everybody in the world should have that tool to help them have a fighting chance, like to change their background, to change their history, to change the habits that their family, their ancestry put into their genes, because it gets into our genes epigenetically. So it always comes back. See, this is going to sound like we're trying to sell, but it's really not trying to sell. It just keeps coming back to the tools that are so core to what we know. The unique design code, the SVH, the body, the movement, the nutrition. Like it's all encompassing.
It's always the same. We've ground it down to the things, and it's not that there aren't other things and there aren't other, it's just for us, we've got the simplifying things, but yeah. But in short, we still have these small little hacks and we all started somewhere, and yeah, so it's all just choice and just wanting to inspire everybody. We like to conspire to inspire. Like it's so important for us to remind people, like, we really have everything that we need in order to get where we're not just desiring to go, but where we're intended to go. And right now with this huge paradigm shift and us all having come here for this specific purpose, none of us are actually being allowed, not none of us, but most of us aren't literally being allowed to not get on point with what our souls came here to do. So yeah. Small steps at a time, change your attitude, huge steps by who knows, SVH and ripping it out from the root. It doesn't actually matter because it's all your divine ideal trajectory, but you have to take action on it. But you're always in the perfect position for where you're meant to be. So
I want to give 2 quick other hacks that are chemical changers and that anybody can do anytime, any place, and doesn't require any money. Is that you can, because your chemistry, we're talking about going down to the level of chemistry, taking a deep breath changes your oxygen to carbon dioxide balance in your blood. Taking a deep, full breath. Because so many of us, I'm bad at this, just describing. I breathe out of my shoulders. I don't breathe out of my diaphragm. Taking a deep, full breath changes the amount of oxygen to carbon dioxide, and that ratio trips you from sympathetic nervous system, which is fight, flight, or freeze, to parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, create, and repair. So just taking a deep breath switches the oxygen to carbon dioxide, and you shift into a more calm state. Huge. You can do it anytime, any place. You're getting stressed. You're realizing that you're going dark. You're realizing that you're faced with a confrontation. Stop and take a deep breath of oxygen. It's free. It's a gift from God. Another quick
a template. Do that anytime. Just have it stop. Just that's a template in and of itself that can shift your chemistry. That can be changing your attitude. Keep going.
And then that goes to chemistry. And then another one is thinking about a book called Presence by Amy Cuddy, and where they studied different postures. And one of them that is famous from that book is the Superman position, like standing up and being like, I'm going to stand up. I've got my feet wide and I've got my hands on my hips. And let's say you're not in a place that you can actually do that. You can stop, close your eyes, and not even close your eyes, but you can close your eyes and imagine yourself in that position. And they actually have found that it literally changes your testosterone levels, your hormone levels, and it shifts you.
Sure does.
And so these things are things you can all do, and they're free, and they are life changing because they're the moment to moment decisions, the moment to moment thoughts that we have that changes our trajectory.
Yep. Yep.
So
Enough said. Get ahead of it. We've got so many things to implement. We can do it. Just think of a couple things that you want to implement right now. Create your little template so that when the time comes, you'll be like, oh yeah, you've already got it ready. Then start trying it. That's how you create a new habit. Simple things, massive results.
I want to just finish with one thing you said. You said, say to somebody, say to a partner, it could not even be a partner, it could be just somebody who you want to verbalize with. Say that I have decided I'm changing my attitude. Like that statement, I think that that's so inspiring to the person who's hearing it,
Oh, big time.
right? It's
You're staking
inspiring.
a claim. When you stake
then,
a claim and you have the energy, you're like, this is what I'm doing. People don't argue. They
well,
follow.
plus what it does in their life to make them think, whoa, should I be changing my attitude? I can change my attitude too.
It's called being an inspiration and motivation to people.
It's such a ripple effect. So
Yep. Be the change. Be the
Thank you,
Superman. Build yourself up. It all works. It all works so well. So yay. All right. Well, that's it for today. Just a fun little hack, just a few little things that we wanted to say about that. Obviously, everybody can get in touch with us if you want below this video, wherever you're watching it. I would love some ideas of what you guys came up with when you were looking at your awareness of where your mind is just spiraling. Hers was in the past, I have no choice. And mine was in the past, I don't have time, I can't do it. What is your thing? Maybe it could be a couple things that is going by rote and you witness yourself saying over and over and over again. And then how could you flip it?
Yeah.
I flipped it like, what can I do with my time? And more often than not, now it's turned into, oh my God, I can bend time. I get everything done. Everything's amazing. I'm really fast. I'm the best at everything. What turns out, what I tell universe I want every single time. So give us some feedback. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say and just post it in the comments wherever you're seeing this video. All right. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. We'll be back. You know we will. Bye-bye for now.